Hi, I'm Tony, and a few weeks ago we recorded what I thought was an absolutely great intro to our trip, but it turns out the audio quality was absolutely terrible. So now here we are, a few weeks later, stood here just to re-tee up that trip. I'd like to introduce you also to Helen. Helen has many roles in life. One of them is that she's Sports Bike Shop's graphic designer, but more importantly that, to me anyway, she's also my significantly better half. Helen is coming on this trip with her CB750 Hornet. So the idea is to find out what the V-Strom's like over a multi-stage tour around Britain, which I think is really important for a bike like this. And
I'm just coming along for a good time.
Okay, can't argue with that. So we were about to set off on a trip that we planned, 1,200 miles up through northern England, so through the Peak District, Yorkshire, through the Pennines, up into Scotland, parts of the North Coast 500, back through the Cairngorm Mountains before coming back down through northern England to home. And more importantly than anything really, this is just our annual holiday. So we've quite enjoyed looking back over the footage of our trip. Yeah. So I hope you enjoy our trip on the V-Strom 800 and the Hornet. So let's go for a ride. After finally completing our entry for the 2023 World Faffing Championships, including a 15-mile detour to go back and get the lock I forgot to pack, we made it to the Peak District. This is somewhere near Bakewell, and somehow we resisted the pull of the local tart. I'm still not quite sure how. Next stop, Lady Bower Reservoir. So here we are. We are at Lady Bower Reservoir, just stopped off having come through the peaks. Helen's never been to Lady Bower before, quite keen to stop and have a look. So there it is, Lady Bower, famous for the dam busters practices. All looking good, luggage is nice and solid, quite nicely matched. 84 horsepower on the left, 91 horsepower on the right. Significant size difference between them. But loads of leg room for comfort. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Moving on. I've never known Snake Pass as quiet as it was on this day. This was a Saturday and I thought it'd be packed, but we had it virtually to ourselves. It's had a 50-mile-an-hour limit for a long time now, so maybe the local riders give it a swerve these days. If they're after a quick adrenaline burst, then I don't blame them really. But for me, 50 miles per hour along here feels just fine. We've got 8 days on the bike, so there's no need to rush. Just follow the sat-nav and chill. Following the sat-nav's never been my strong point. Sometimes I just don't want to turn off, but most of the time I'm just in my own little world. This time, it was U-turn time. Thankfully, the V-Strom has a great turning circle and doesn't mind spinning around in the road. Helen, I think, was less happy about it. This was quite a minor detour by my standards though, and I'm glad we turned around. We would have missed this run past Dingley Reservoir if we hadn't. The end of day one, end of the first day of our adventure. The V-Strom 800 and the Hornet 750 both arrived in Sowerby Bridge. We're at the Navigation Inn, staying in a little cottage type, very nice place. I thought it was a lovely ride today, through the Peak District, over Snake Pass, A57, lovely and warm, about 19 degrees all day, glorious sunshine, everything has been right with the world today as far as I'm concerned. How about you?
Yeah, sounds spot on what you just said. It was really nice to actually get to ride this bike on some different roads.
Yeah.
Not just the same old stuff.
Yeah.
Get a feel for how it handles on something a bit more interesting.
So, food?
Yeah,
Food
definitely
inside the fridge? Definitely food?
Definitely
What sort of food are you thinking?
Food. Whatever we can find that's open that serves food.
It's a bit late to ask for recommendations, but we're off to find food. We'll see you in the morning for day 2, which will take us up through the Yorkshire Dales and up into the Scottish borders tomorrow and Anne. Morning, pleased to report the bikes are exactly where we left them last night. We're here in Sowerby Bridge, the sun's shining, temperature is, according to the readout on the V-Strom, today's air temperature is 24 degrees. I can't quite believe it's that warm. So yeah, we're here, luggage is on the back of the V-Strom, yeah?
Good and solid.
And we got 63 miles per gallon on my maths yesterday, which if we look at the readout, it's about right, it's pretty accurate. Trip 2 saying 62 miles per gallon, right? 62 according to the readout. I did the maths and that's pretty much spot on. So fuel range, tank range should be somewhere around 220 miles and the Hornet's on 180. So we think one fill up each evening and it should do the whole of the next day. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Should we get going?
Yeah, let's go.
Go, go, go?
Go, go, go.
Go, go, go. We had intercoms on throughout the trip and Helen likes to take plenty of pictures. This view across Bronte country near Oxenhope was just a bit too much to resist. The request came over the comms for a photo stop and who am I to deny it? First stop of the day, up on some kind of moor going up towards Keighley from Haworth. Just stopped for a quick view. Right, next stop, Screwfix. Got to pick up some tools because I'm an idiot. Took a tool out of my bag right at the last minute thinking, oh, I won't need that. Less than 24 hours later, where's that tool? So yeah, next stop, Screwfix. I love this road from Settle up to Gearstones, which winds through the Yorkshire Dales like a supermoto track, just with stone walls that make sure you know it isn't actually a racetrack. It's the sort of road where you don't need to speed to get a buzz. It never goes straight for long and it's perfect for the V-Strom. Sitting up tall, looking over the walls, you get loads of leverage from the wide bars which makes snaggled roads like these an absolute breeze. And at the top of here is Ribblehead Viaduct, which is just another reason to love this road. First proper stop of today. Did a little stop, but this is the first proper stop. And that is the Ribblehead Viaduct. We're not alone. The place is absolutely stacked. Plenty of bikes coming through. Yep. Told you it's popular. The bike's still absolutely mega. Just been on some really windy, nadgery roads. Come from Settle up to here, brilliant. Ridden them several times over the years. Great roads, love them. And the bike was great, absolutely great. Really flickable but nice and stable. You think the two would be mutually exclusive, but kind of felt like I had both. How are we doing, Hebs? Alright? Good. Yeah?
Just cleaning all the bugs off.
Cleaning
so
all
I
the
can see again.
Yeah.
Trying to set up the GoPro to actually work the way I want it to work.
Yeah.
See. Enjoying the roads and the scenery.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Go, go, go?
Yeah, go, go, go.
Lunch was calling, and it takes a braver man than me to stand between Helen and her lunch. She'd done her research and she'd sussed out a cafe in Kirkby Stephen. She'd even studied the menu and knew what she was going to order. All I had to do was hope it was open. It's lunchtime, well, it's past lunchtime now. We just had our lunch. We stopped at the White Hare Cafe, sorry, in Kirkby Stephen. What a nice bloke in there. Proper biker friendly. It says biker friendly on the windows, and he really is. And
A bit of squirt for the visors.
knock off visor cleaner for sorting your visors out. Really good. And time to move on. Time to move on. We'd plotted our route before we left home and we'd synced it with the sat-nav, but some parts still made me wonder where the TomTom was taking us. That's exactly what I thought when we turned right onto this unclassified road just after Forest in Teesdale. But it turned out to be a really cool road and it took us all the way up to Alston. The weather took a turn for the worse as we made our way north, then west through Longtown and eventually arrived in Scotland at Gretna. We didn't stop in Gretna. Of all the souvenirs that Helen's mum might have wanted from this trip, I reckon her son-in-law was probably bottom of the list. "160 miles in one day might not sound like much, but I was still ready to stop as we approached our day's final destination in Annan. Here we are, the end of day two? Day two. And we have been through Yorkshire, bit of Cumbria.
Bit of Cumbria, bit of Northumberland.
Northumberland, yeah, who'd have thought it? Newcastle flags, Newcastle United Football Club flags. Wouldn't have thought we were that close to that, but there we go. And now we're in Scotland. Welcome to Scotland. We're in Annan at the Queensbury Arms Hotel. Very nice, very cheap, very friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And as for the V-Strom, another really strong day. Still averaging 62 miles per gallon. Not exactly been thrashing it, but you know, not been hanging about either. And 62 miles per gallon, let's just fill up in the evening, ride the next day, fill up in the evening. That's very, very relaxing knowing you've got a day's worth of fuel in the tank.
Yeah.
We are now kind of like a two-person bug graveyard, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean your screen pretty much looks like what my visor and jacket look like.
Yeah, 3 visor cleans I think. Two during the day.
Yeah.
Cleaned it at Ribblehead Viaduct, didn't we? It's the season to be buggy.
Isn't it just?
Wow, they're everywhere. They're absolutely splattered. But I'm getting on really well with this bike. I like this bike. For this sort of riding, it's absolutely perfect. It's kind of like sat up high, you can see what's coming. You've got plenty of leverage on those big wide bars, so whenever you come up to something that needs a bit of, because some of those roads were pretty
really twisty, weren't they?
Yeah, pretty kind of almost corkscrewy type stuff, where it's going up and down and around. It's nice to come back through this way again, and this bike's been really comfy, and I can stand up on the pegs and look a bit daft.
And you can dangle your legs off without worrying about them touching the ground.
Yeah, whereas you have to worry about them touching the ground.
Yeah, I do have to worry about them touching it.
When you dangle them off. But yeah, so what's next? Food?
It's basically bike, food, sleep, repeat.
Yeah.
With an extra
I think
food.
there might be a t-shirt design in that. Eat, sleep, ride, repeat they call it, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Food then.